March 15, 1952, 3:47 a.m. Robert Chen stood in the parking lot of his trucking depot in Red Hook, Brooklyn, watching everything he'd built turn to ash. 12 trucks, brand new Mack B Series top of the line worth $8,000 each, all of them burning. The heat was so intense he couldn't get within 50 feet. The fire department hadn't even arrived yet, but Chen knew they wouldn't matter. And if you like this video, remember to leave a like, subscribe, and turn on the notification bell. By the time they got there, it would all be gone. 96,000 in vehicles, gone. His business, gone. His American dream. Burning. A black Cadillac pulled up. The door opened. Out stepped a man in an immaculate navy suit, not a hair out of place despite the early hour. Vincent the Chin Gigante, one of Albert Anastasia's top enforcers. He stood next to Chen, hands in his pockets, watching the flames like it was a sunset. "Terrible thing, fires," Vincent said casually, "especially when they're preventable." Chen's fists clenched. "You did this." "Me?" Vincent looked genuinely offended. "I was home in bed." "Got 6 witnesses who'll swear to it. But you know what's interesting, Bobby? Fires like this, they don't happen to companies under Mr. Anastasia's protection. Funny how that works." Chen had started Brooklyn Express Trucking 8 months ago with money saved from 15 years working the docks. He'd bought his first 3 trucks in July 1951. By February 1952, he had 12, with contracts hauling goods between Brooklyn, Manhattan, and New Jersey. He was living the dream. The problem was, he was living it in Red Hook. And Red Hook belonged to Albert Anastasia. Anastasia, known as the Lord High Executioner, controlled the Brooklyn waterfront through his position in the International Longshoremen's Association. By 1952, he'd expanded his influence beyond the docks into trucking, warehousing, and anything that moved goods through Brooklyn. The system was simple. You paid protection, usually 10% of gross revenues, and your business operated smoothly. Trucks didn't break down mysteriously. Shipments didn't disappear. Drivers didn't get hurt. Your depot didn't burn to the ground at 3 a.m., but Robert Chen had refused. When Vincent had first approached him in January with Anastasia's offer, Chen had said no. He'd come to America legally, built his business legitimately. He paid his taxes, treated his workers fairly, and didn't believe in paying criminals for permission to exist. "This is America," Chen had told Vincent. "I don't pay extortion." Vincent had smiled. "This is Brooklyn. Different rules." Now, watching his life's work burn, Chen understood what Vincent had meant. But what Vincent didn't know, what nobody knew except Chen and his lawyer, was that Chen had been prepared for this. Because Chen hadn't just come from China. He'd come from Shanghai, where he'd survived the Green Gang's control of the city. He knew how men like Anastasia operated, and he'd learned something crucial. When powerful men think they've won, that's when they're most vulnerable. 2 months earlier, January 8, 1952. Robert Chen was in his small office above the truck depot when Vincent Gigante walked in without knocking. Vincent was 24 years old, but carried himself like a man twice his age. He'd grown up on Sullivan Street, done his first job for the Genovese family at 19, and by 1952 was one of Anastasia's most trusted collectors. "Mr. Chen," Vincent said, sitting down uninvited, "beautiful operation you got here. 12 trucks, union drivers, legitimate contracts. You're doing well." "Thank you," Chen replied carefully. "I work hard." "That's what I like to see. Hard work, honest business. Mr. Anastasia respects that." Vincent placed a business card on the desk. No name, just a phone number. "Thing is, operating in Red Hook, there's costs. Insurance, you might say. Protection." Chen had been expecting this. Every businessman in Brooklyn knew about Anastasia's waterfront operation. The International Longshoremen's Association, ILA Local 1814, was completely under mob control. If you wanted to move goods through Brooklyn, you dealt with Anastasia's people. "What kind of protection?" Chen asked, though he knew the answer. 10% of gross revenues paid monthly. In return, your trucks run smooth. No problems with the drivers, no issues with loading docks, no trouble with inspections. And if you like this video, remember to leave a like, subscribe, and turn on the notification bell. Your business stays healthy. Vincent leaned back. Most guys, they see this as good business. You pay a reasonable fee, you get reliability. Win-win. Chen had saved $120,000 to start Brooklyn Express. His trucks generated about $15,000 monthly in revenue. 10% meant a $500 a month, $18,000 a year. Over 5 years, he'd be paying nearly $100,000 to criminals for nothing. And if I refuse? Chen asked quietly. Vincent's smile didn't reach his eyes. Why would you refuse? This is how business works in Brooklyn. Has been for 20 years, will be for 20 more. You're a smart man, Mr. Chen. Smart men don't fight the current, they swim with it. I need time to think, Chen said. Vincent stood. Sure. You got until end of month, but let me be clear, this ain't a negotiation. This is me being polite, giving you time to see reason. Mr. Anastasia, he don't like repeating himself. You understand? Chen understood perfectly. After Vincent left, Chen made a phone call to his lawyer, Samuel Leibowitz. Leibowitz was a legendary defense attorney who defended Al Capone and dozens of mobsters, but had since become a crusading district attorney and judge. He knew how the mob operated better than anyone. They approached you, Leibowitz said. It wasn't a question. Yes, 10% monthly, Anastasia's people. And you want to refuse. I didn't come to America to pay criminals. Leibowitz was silent for a long moment. Robert, I admire your principles, but you need to understand what you're dealing with. Albert Anastasia isn't just a gangster. He's head of Murder Incorporated's enforcement arm. He's killed personally, dozens of times. The man is a psychopath with an army. So I pay? Or you close your business and move it out of Brooklyn? Chen thought about his 12 trucks, his 8 drivers and their families, his contracts, his dream. There's no other way? Not one that ends with you keeping your business and your life, Leibowitz said grimly. These aren't men who bluff, Robert. If you refuse, they'll make an example of you. Chen thanked Leibowitz and hung up. Then he made another call, this one to a private investigator named Morris Helprin, who specialized in insurance fraud cases. Morris, I need surveillance equipment, cameras, recording devices. Can you install them without anyone knowing? How many locations? Helprin asked. Everywhere. My depot, my trucks, my office, everything. That's expensive, Robert. And if you're thinking what I think you're thinking, it's dangerous. I know. Can you do it? Helprin could. Over the next 2 weeks, he installed hidden cameras at every entrance to Chen's depot, recording equipment, in Chen's office, and photographic surveillance across the street with a clear view of the parking lot. Chen also hired a night watchman, Thomas Riley, a former NYPD cop who'd been forced out for refusing to take mob money. Riley understood what was coming. On January 31st, Vincent returned. So, Vincent said, you had time to think. What's your answer? No, Chen said simply. I won't pay. Vincent's expression didn't change, but something cold flickered in his eyes. You sure about that? I'm sure. Mr. Chen, I like you. You got balls, but balls without brains get men killed. This is your last chance. Pay the 10% or things get difficult. My answer is no. Vincent stood slowly. Okay. Don't say I didn't warn you. After Vincent left, Chen sat in his office for a long time. He knew what was coming. The question was whether his preparation would be enough. February started quietly. Too quietly. Chen's trucks ran their routes. His drivers reported no problems, but Chen knew. This was the calm before the storm. Anastasia's people were watching, waiting, choosing their moment. February the 8th. One of Chen's drivers, Mickey Sullivan, was loading a truck at a warehouse in Sunset Park when 3 men approached. They didn't say anything, just beat him methodically with baseball bats. Broke his left arm, 3 ribs, fractured his jaw. The message was clear. February 15th, 2 of Chen's trucks broke down on the same day. Mechanics found sugar in the gas tanks. Repairs cost $800 per truck, plus lost revenue from missed deliveries. February 22nd. And if you like this video, remember to leave a like, subscribe, and turn on the notification bell. A building inspector showed up at Chen's depot, citing violations that didn't exist. When Chen protested, the inspector smiled. You want these violations to disappear? There's people who can help with that. Make a phone call. Chen documented everything, every incident, every cost, every threat. Halpern's cameras caught men tampering with the trucks. Chen kept detailed records of lost revenue, repair costs, medical bills. He was building a case, but he knew it wasn't enough. The police wouldn't act against Anastasia without overwhelming evidence, and even then, they might not act at all. Half the cops in Brooklyn were on mob payroll. March 1st. Vincent returned to Chen's office. This time, he wasn't alone. With him was Carlo Gambino, one of Anastasia's top associates. Gambino was quiet, methodical, more dangerous than the loud enforcers because he thought before he acted. "Mr. Chen," Gambino said softly, "you're being stubborn. This is costing you money, costing your drivers pain. Why?" "Because it's wrong," Chen said. "Wrong?" Gambino seemed genuinely puzzled. "We're offering you a service. You pay, your business runs smooth. You refuse, your business suffers. That's not wrong. That's economics. It's extortion. Call it what you want. The point is, you're losing. Every day you resist, you lose more money, more time, more safety. Eventually, you'll lose everything. So why not pay now, save? Yourself the trouble." Chen met Gambino's eyes. "Because if I pay you, I'll be paying you for the rest of my life. If I lose everything fighting you, at least I lose it on my terms." Gambino studied Chen for a long moment, then nodded. "I respect that. I do. But respect doesn't change reality. You got 1 week. After that, things get serious." After they left, Chen called Leibowitz again. "They're escalating. I think they're going to burn the depot. Then shut down now. File for bankruptcy, walk away. You can start over somewhere else." "I can't. If I run, they win. Every other immigrant businessman in Brooklyn will pay because I was too afraid to stand up." "Robert, this isn't about other businessmen. This is about your life." "Maybe it's about both," Chen said quietly. That night, Chen doubled Riley's hours. Riley would be on site 24/7, watching, recording. Halpern installed additional cameras with night vision capability. If Anastasia's people came, Chen would have evidence. The question was whether evidence would matter. March 10th. Vincent made one final visit. No threats this time, no speeches. He just walked into Chen's office, looked at him, and said 5 words. "Last chance, yes or no?" "No," Chen said. Vincent nodded. "Okay then." He walked out. Chen knew he had days at most. He made copies of all his documentation, gave 1 set to Leibowitz, 1 to Halpern, 1 to a safety deposit box. He wrote letters to his wife, his children, explaining everything. If this went wrong, they'd at least know why. March 14th. Riley reported suspicious activity. A car had driven past the depot 4 times between midnight and 3 a.m., slowing each time. The cameras caught the license plate. It was registered to a company owned by Anastasia's nephew. March 15th, 2 a.m. Riley called Chen. "They're here. 3 men carrying containers, gas cans, I think." "Don't confront them," Chen said immediately. "Just record everything. Stay hidden." "You sure? I can stay hidden. This only works if we have evidence." Riley watched through the surveillance post across the street as 3 men systematically doused Chen's 12 trucks with gasoline. They worked quickly, professionally. At 3:30 a.m., they lit the fire. 12 trucks ignited almost simultaneously. The cameras caught everything, their faces, their movements, their license plates. At 3:47 a.m., Chen arrived at his depot and found Vincent Giganti watching his life burn. Vincent left after delivering his message. Chen stood alone in the parking lot watching the flames, knowing the fire department was still 10 minutes away. Everything he'd built was gone, but he had something more valuable than trucks. He had evidence. March 16th, 8 a.m. Chen walked into the office of FBI Special Agent William McCluskey. McCluskey was part of a federal task force investigating organized crime on the Brooklyn waterfront. The Kefauver Committee hearings of 1950-51 had exposed mob control of American cities, and the FBI was under pressure to act. "Mr. Chen," McCluskey said, "I heard about your depot. I'm sorry." "Don't be sorry. Help me." Chen placed a folder on McCluskey's desk. Inside were photographs from Halpern's cameras showing 3 men setting Chen's trucks on fire. There were additional photos documenting weeks of sabotage, intimidation, and assault. There were recordings of Vincent's conversations about protection. There were financial records showing the systematic destruction of Chen's business. McCluskey examined the evidence carefully. This is good. Very good. But Albert Anastasia is careful. These men, the ones in the photos, they're associates, low level. We arrest them, they don't talk, and Anastasia stays untouched. What if they do talk? Chen asked. What could you offer them? McCluskey leaned back. If we had someone willing to testify, willing to explain how Anastasia's protection racket works, we could build a RICO case. But these guys, they're soldiers. They know if they talk, they're dead. What about Vincent Gigante? Gigante? McCluskey looked interested. What about him? He's the collector. He made the threats. He represents Anastasia directly. If you arrest him with this evidence, he'd have a choice. And if you like this video, remember to leave a like, subscribe, and turn on the notification bell. Life in prison or cooperate? McCluskey shook his head. Vincent's loyal. He'd never flip. Everyone has a price, Chen said, or a fear. Find his. The FBI arrested the 3 arsonists on March 18th. Within 48 hours, faced with clear photographic evidence and 20-year arson sentences, 2 of them gave statements implicating Vincent Gigante in ordering the attack. March 22nd, FBI agents arrested Vincent at his mother's house on Sullivan Street. They charged him with arson, extortion, and racketeering. Vincent said nothing, asked for his lawyer, and posted $50,000 bail within 6 hours. But McCluskey had been working another angle. Vincent's younger brother, Ralph, had been arrested in February on an unrelated robbery charge. Ralph was looking at 10 years. McCluskey made Vincent an offer: testify against Anastasia's waterfront operation, and Ralph's charges disappear. Stay silent, and Ralph does full time in Sing Sing. It took Vincent 3 days to make his decision. On March 25th, he agreed to cooperate. Not fully, not enough to destroy Anastasia completely, but enough to expose the protection racket on the waterfront. Vincent gave the FBI detailed information about dozens of businesses paying protection, the systematic violence used to enforce compliance, and the financial structure of Anastasia's operation. The FBI coordinated with the New York District Attorney's Office. On April 2, 1952, they arrested 18 members of Anastasia's waterfront operation, including Carlo Gambino, on charges of extortion, racketeering, and conspiracy. Anastasia himself wasn't arrested. He had insulated himself too carefully, but his operation was crippled. Chen's case became the centerpiece of the prosecution. His documentation, his surveillance, his willingness to testify provided the evidence needed to convict. The trial lasted 6 weeks. Vincent testified reluctantly but truthfully about the protection racket's operations. 11 of the 18 defendants were convicted, receiving sentences ranging from 5 to 15 years. Anastasia was furious. He knew Chen had orchestrated the collapse of his waterfront protection system, but he also knew Chen was now under FBI protection, and any move against him would bring immediate federal attention. Anastasia was many things, but he wasn't stupid. He left Chen alone. As for Vincent Gigante, his cooperation bought his brother's freedom but destroyed his reputation. The mob world never forgot betrayal. Vincent's testimony was limited enough that Anastasia didn't order his death, but he was finished as an enforcer. He spent the next few years doing minor collections before fading into obscurity. Some say he faked mental illness in later years to avoid prosecution. Others say the guilt of betraying the life broke his mind. Either way, the man who'd once been one of Anastasia's top enforcers ended his days wandering Sullivan Street in a bathrobe, muttering to himself. Robert Chen rebuilt Brooklyn Express Trucking. The insurance payment for his destroyed trucks was $96,000, combined with an FBI victims' compensation fund and a loan from a bank impressed by his courage. Chen was back in business by July 1952. This time, nobody asked him for protection money. Word had spread through Brooklyn's underworld. Chen was the man who'd faced down Albert Anastasia and won. He wasn't untouchable, but he was too expensive to touch. Chen ran Brooklyn Express for another 23 years, eventually passing it to his son in 1975. The company still exists today, operating across the East Coast, a testament to one man's refusal to accept that crime was just. And if you like this video, remember to leave a like, subscribe, and turn on the notification bell. Just the cost of doing business. Albert Anastasia continued controlling parts of the Brooklyn waterfront until October 25, 1957, when he was assassinated while getting a haircut in the Park Sheraton Hotel barbershop. His death had nothing to do with Chen. It was internal mob politics, a power play by Carlo Gambino. But the cracks in Anastasia's empire had started 5 years earlier, the night 12 trucks burned and one stubborn businessman decided evidence was more powerful than fear. The lesson wasn't that crime doesn't pay. In 1952, Brooklyn, crime paid very well. The lesson was that documentation, patience, and courage could sometimes beat power. Not always, not easily, but sometimes. And sometimes was enough.